Well, for the last time ever, I'm going to go to an Oakland A's game.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's all year long as they're here. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com, more like Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, including Las Vegas. Go download the Booking.com app today. Booking.com, more like Booking.yeah. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. As you can tell behind me, today I am at the Oakland Coliseum. It is the final game here. It is Thursday. You already know what happened, as this is being dropped sometime on the weekend. But I'm here. It's not yet 10 o'clock, and the parking lot is absolutely filled. I have to be honest with you. I didn't know what I was walking into when it came down to coming to the ballpark today. I didn't know if it was going to be a sad experience. I didn't know if it was going to be bittersweet. And I still haven't gone into the ballpark yet, so I don't know what it's going to be like. It's going to be my last ever game going to this ballpark. But the parking lot around me is an absolute celebration. There are tailgates left and right. There are people waving flags. Here's something so awesome. Don Marquez, the author of Generation A's Fan. You and I have been in communication since '06.
And never met.
Never met!
Until right now.
That's great. This is so amazing. This is the happy part of today.
Yes, it is.
There's like 3 or 4 people I've met today who I've known through the podcast or the blog. You're a real human.
I exist.
You exist.
I exist.
Read the book Generation A's Fan.
Please do.
And if you read that and you don't have a tear in your eye thinking about this team being taken away, then you are one of the robots from Blade Runner. That's the only.
Exactly. That is true.
That's how they test for replicants. But I see people, young, old, Latino, African American, white, Asian, all around, all wearing their A's uniforms, all wearing their A's getup. And I have to say, I've been having a ball looking at what jerseys people are wearing. You get to see some old timers are wearing Hunters or Campaneris or Jackson or Fingers. You get to see a lot of people my age, the Gen Xers. They tend to wear the Canseco, the McGuire. Some Stewarts are in there, some Eckersleys, and also a smattering of, who did I miss out? Canseco, McGuire, Henderson, Stewart, Eckersley. You get the gist. Bunch of Tejadas, bunch of Matt Olsons, bunch of Giambis, bunch of Eric Chavez's. And it's like a walking museum of all the great A's players who came here. Now, I'll give the A's some credit. You can probably hear in the background, they're playing the audio of one of the 1970s World Series games. I can't tell which one it is, but it's either 72 or 73 because they said the manager, Dick Williams. By the way, it smells great. It's 9:30 in the morning. Might be a bit early for sausage and peppers, but I digress. I remember the first game I went here. In 1988, my family had just moved from Massachusetts to California. I was a teenager, and I'd been to games in East Coast stadiums, but I remember coming to this place behind me, and it was actually a great place to see a game. You know, I'm of the age where I don't look down upon multi-purpose stadiums. I like the fact that the Raiders and the A's played here. I like the fact that the Giants and the 49ers played at Candlestick Park. I didn't thumb my nose at the cookie cutter parks because so many great memories were made there. And in some ways, That's one of the things we're seeing illustrated here with this game. It isn't necessarily the vessel. It's the memories you put into it. It isn't necessarily how beautiful the stadium is or what a great brick facade or the funky new angles that you see in some of these, pseudo nostalgia ballparks like the one in Houston. It's the memories that take place there. I've been to a bunch of the cookie cutter parks, including the old Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, old Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, and old Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. And I didn't feel ripped off because they were symmetrical and they kind of looked the same. What I thought about were the great moments that took place in those ballparks. And the new ballparks didn't become special until new memories were put inside of them. Ask yourself, what, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, do you have more nostalgia for Three Rivers Stadium or PNC Park? PNC Park, which is demonstrably one of the most beautiful ballparks in baseball, but Three Rivers Stadium saw Clemente, Stargell, and the steel curtain defense. Behind me, this is where the A's and the Raiders were dominant in the 70s. Here is where the A's won 3 straight World Series once and 3 straight pennants again. Just seeing all the different shirts and everything made me realize, gosh, there's just so many memories that were put into this vessel. It's like this is the ice cube tray, and the memories were the water you put into it. And we're going to miss this place. I'm certainly going to miss this place. Many summers were spent here. Many days cutting class were spent here. I've seen 4 playoff games here. And year in and year out, whether they won or not, great memories and great players. And now, the fans who had invested all this time and energy are saying goodbye today. And maybe part of me is having a little trouble walking in because I know it's the last time I'm going to see a game here. It's the last time I'm going to experience this. We all know they did a lot of bad stuff to the stadium. Mount Davis looks like an aircraft carrier was parked in center field. What used to be a beautiful vista with the grass and the flowers and a look out towards the East Bay. Instead, it's this nasty reminder of how the A's were second-class citizens in their own ballpark, as they seem to be more enamored with keeping the Raiders here than anything else. But all the nostalgia was here, not only for the Raiders and for the A's, right over there, where the Warriors won all those championships. And by the way, this should be a pilgrimage for Cleveland fans. Why? The only championship the city of Cleveland has ever clinched since Jim Brown left was done right over there when the Cavaliers beat the Warriors. Again, memories. Memories in a vessel. And we're going to have one more memory. And in some ways, I don't care what happens. I just want it to be a nice day with about 40,000 of my friends. And one that I can take you and we can share this event. But on the other hand, I would like to hear celebration one more time. All right, let's go in. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal rate of 4.5 APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at RobinhoodCom/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit RobinhoodCom/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold
LLC.
It's nearly an hour and a half before game time here, and it feels a lot like the last day of summer camp. You know, there's going to be sadness, but there's also going to be celebration. And I got to tell you this story. I'm coming into the gate at the Coliseum, and they're handing out the vouchers that I talked about for the stadium trinket that they're handing out, and I don't want it. I don't. It's just something that's gonna just clutter up my house or something. So I don't want to have the stadium replica. And so I walked past, and the woman usher was trying to put it in my hand, and I kind of waved her off. I go, it's all right, I don't want it. And I walked 2 or 3 steps, and she tapped me on the shoulder as if I did something wrong walking in. And she said, you need to have the voucher. And I said, I don't want it. And she said, you won't be able to have the stadium replica if you don't take this. And I said, I don't want the stadium replica. And she really had it took me saying that 2 or 3 times, I don't want it. I don't want it. Give it to someone who wants it. By the way, I bumped into Ed from Baseball PhD. I've been on his podcast a bunch of times. We never met in person. We bumped into each other here. And I found a guy who was wearing an Oakland A's jersey, but it had number 3 Fox for Jimmy Fox, honoring the Philadelphia A great. And one of the things I really love about seeing all the different uniforms, yes, there's lots of Ricky Hendersons and Catfish Hunters and Mark McGuire and Jason Giambis and some of the Matt Chapman, but there's also people like and Barry Zito, but you also see people like Chris Davis. I saw Mike Gallego. There are people who you don't necessarily think of as great A's players, but were beloved. A lot of Cespedes shirts, and these are not people. If you wrote the great history of the Oakland A's, will be in the front page of it. But there are people who are beloved. It's like, that's my guy. My guy was Mark Kotze, or my guy was, like I'm looking right there, there's another Chris Davis. That's what people are going to miss and forget are some of the players who weren't necessarily the huge stars, but meant a lot to the team. And the real sadness is coming later. There's a Coco Crisp shirt proving my point. But we're going to feel the sadness later. But let's celebrate first. Last day of summer camp.
I'll be making music for myself. I'll probably be in the music industry. It's a lot of that's like
a pretty cool thing just happened here as they're blasting music. They were playing Game 4 of the 1972 World Series up on the screen. And it was a game where the A's scored 2 in the bottom of the 9th with 3 straight pinch hits to win and take a 3-game-to-1 lead in that World Series. The cool thing was there were 2 moments. At one point, Gene Tennis hit a home run in the game, and another moment was Manuel got the walk-off hit back in 1972 when I was less than 1 year old. And when Manuel got the hit of the 52-year-old game, the place started cheering. That was pretty cool, I thought, and made me happy. Again, it's the memories inside the ice cube tray, not necessarily the ice cube tray.
Let's go, Oakland! Let's go, Oakland! Let's go, Oakland! We've got our broadcasters.
It's really cool seeing this place full. I gotta say, it's cool seeing this place totally packed. Wow. 1968.
1968.
That's amazing. Here for the first game and now for the last. You are the Oakland A's, right there. All right, one last time here in the Oakland Coliseum. It's Miller time. Let's see if the A's can hold this lead. You already know. A bunch of idiots ran on the field and threw smoke bombs, but the A's won. And you know what? I'm glad it was a good game. And now, like the song says, celebrate. The A's are doing an impromptu team picture on the mound. And let's face it, it's a tiny bit of a middle finger to John Fisher. Maybe not a tiny bit. Game's been over for about 10-15 minutes now. They did a big celebration on the field, and nobody's leaving. The place is still jam-packed. And I think the reason is when you leave, you'll be gone, as will this stadium. And I get it. This was fun until right now. But I'm really glad I'm here. I have to say, this game was everything I wanted it to be, in that it was a good game, it was a well-played game, it wasn't sloppy, both teams did their best. But most of all, the entire day was a celebration of the A's and their amazing history, and their quirky history, and their hard-to-define history, and a history that is difficult to put a finger on if you weren't here. The championships, the strange personality of this team, and they're going to be gone. And the amazing thing is the game's been over for about 20-30 minutes, and not a lot of people have left, because they know if they do, they're gone for good. I love that the A's were given instruction to just walk away, don't give a big speech or anything, and Kotze did the exact opposite. He gave a passionate speech, thanking the fans, thanking especially the staff here at the Coliseum, who are all going to be out of work soon, and that the players came out there and gave a wave goodbye. And one of the players, it may have been Schumann, I don't remember who it was, grabbed the A's flag and started waving it around. And I started looking around, and people who were about my age and a little bit older were not going anywhere. And there were tears being shed by grown-ups, because there came the realization, yes, there was a great celebration when they won, and yes, there were a couple of knuckleheads who ran on the field and ran around, and a couple of people threw smoke bombs out in right field, and those guys are knuckleheads. But then for everyone else, I saw a couple of people about my age, a woman who was a little bit older, and there were tears streaming down their face. Because for a lot of us, the illusion of the past, present, and future taking place simultaneously was over, and a lot of people's childhood memories, which were being shown up there, whether it was Rudy, Jackson, Raleigh Fingers, or McGuire and Canseco, or Tejada, or the Hatterberg home run, or whatever it was, that all of those memories were coming to a head. And with that, there's going to be no more. There's no more memories. There's not going to be more summers here. And the friendships for all those years, some were champions, some were bad, but they were the companions for a year, and the memories and the hopes of winning that 5th title here. And if they didn't get it, at least a summer of fun and green and gold and people not understanding this funny, weird team. And now it's over. And People are beginning to file out, but you know what? If this crowd that was here now was at any normal A's game, they say, oh, this is a decent-sized house. I'd say there's probably still about 25,000 people left in the stadium. And you'll notice that I'm still here. I'm not leaving till someone says, Sully, scram. But it was quite a day, and I'm not going to lie to you, I got a little emotional too. Let me tell you something that I am observing here and thinking here, and a bit of advice I'm going to give to everyone who is watching this and listening to this. Do not be cavalier about suggesting a team should move. Don't just casually say, just move them here, move that there, move that team there. Those fans don't care. Do not be cavalier about that. Don't just say, they're not drawing. Just move this team to there, move that team to there. Don't say that. No matter how much you think it's just as easy as moving pieces around the board game of Risk. And you think, just fill that there, then no one will care, then the team will be there. Don't be cavalier about it. Don't be glib. Don't act like it doesn't affect people. Don't act like it doesn't affect people emotionally. Don't act like it doesn't affect people in terms of their affection for the game. Don't be so arrogant that just because you don't live there, you don't experience something like this. I've been walking around for the last couple of minutes, looking at the faces of grown men, grown women, with tears streaming down their face, realizing this team is being very cavalierly taken away from the fans here. Cavalierly taken to be in another city and then move from there. Don't be cavalier saying, just move a team, the fans don't care. I'm looking at grown-ups crying. I'm looking at people holding up their kids so they can see the stadium one last time. And if you think, who cares? I got about 50-some-odd thousand people here who can tell you exactly who. Hey, this episode of Locked on A's is brought to you by Booking.com, more like Booking.yeah. Now, with Booking.com, you can explore those U.S. cities you've secretly wanted to learn more about. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you may find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city during this postseason. And I got to tell you, I use Booking.com for a fantastic trip that I took this summer. I went to Buffalo. I saw a Buffalo Bisons game there, saw some friends, drove to Niagara Falls. By the way, Buffalo, beautiful city. Really beautiful city, lovely downtown. Then I got in my truck and I went to Syracuse, booked a fabulous hotel in Syracuse, went to a Syracuse Mets game, then went on the road and went all the way to Cooperstown and spent a couple of magical days in Cooperstown and stayed at a hotel on the lake in walking distance to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I got all of it through Booking.com. No matter what team you're rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any city. Booking.com can help you book a stay that's close to your home team or your rival stadium. From hotels that overlook stadiums to that great place I stayed in Cooperstown. Booking.com has all the choices you could want across the U.S. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even Las Vegas or Sacramento or Kansas City or Philadelphia for that matter. Booking.com. Booking.com? More like Booking.yeah. Now, let's hear from PrizePicks. You know all about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as few as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I get my money back in as few as 15 minutes. And PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the sports action in most states, including Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. You get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. The game is over. And with that, the A's time in Oakland is over. I want to take a look at that right there. That's the Oakland Circle of Champions. That's where they have a little plaque for every single Oakland team that won a championship. The 4 that were won by the A's are there, but also the championships won by the Raiders and by the Golden State Warriors while they were playing here in Oakland. Baseball got a little less weird today. Baseball lost a little bit of its character today. I like the fact that there's a strange team like the A's that exists. I like the fact there's a team with a wackadoodle background, a strange history, weird colors, colorful characters, and a hard-to-define fan base for people who are not from here or people who have not experienced A's baseball. I like that there's something offbeat. I like that this was essentially, if there was a baseball team that were the Coen brothers, it would essentially be the A's. Not the biggest moneymakers, to be sure. Not always the best, to be sure. But always memorable. And now baseball's lost that. And for a sport that loves quirky characters and its history and everything like that, a lot of what it's evolving into is kind of homogenized. You know how unique Camden Yards was when it opened, and people were flying to see it. Well, now every new-fangled stadium kind of looks the same, and the uniforms kind of look the same. It's the reason why I like that weird statue in center field at the Marlins ballpark when they first opened it. The A's are a weird team. They have a strange history. They have odd uniforms. They play in a weird stadium with a hard to completely comprehend fan base, and now that's gone. But an interesting thing happened literally 2 minutes ago. I've seen a lot of people with all different shirts and all different A's shirts, and I saw a guy who was in his 80s and he was wearing a Kansas City A's shirt. Now, I've seen a couple people with some Philadelphia A's shirts, but he was the first person I saw wearing a Kansas City A's shirt. His name is Dave. And I pointed that out to him. I said, hey, you're the first KC A's shirt that I've seen here. And he nodded. And he said to me, I was at the last ever Kansas City A's game. And now I'm at the last ever Oakland A's game. And I said, oh, and I asked him if he lived here in the Bay Area. And he said, no, I live in Kansas City. But they were my team. And I was sad when they left. And he rattled off a bunch of famous Kansas City A's games. Especially, he said, I was the game that Satchel Paige pitched 3 innings while he was, God knows how old he was. And he was at the game where Bert Campaneris played all 9 positions. And he said, I love my Royals now, but I wanted to come here because I lost my A's at one point, and now I wanted to be here. And I couldn't tell if it was a moment of revenge on his part, or I couldn't tell if it was a moment of commiseration. I couldn't tell if he was like, ha, you took my team, and now I'm going to watch you lose yours. Or if it was, do you know what? I've been there, and I'm here for you. I couldn't quite tell. The main difference is he still has the Chiefs. If the Royals left, there's nothing here in Oakland now. So the Oakland A's are right now like Schrodinger's cat. They're neither Oakland nor Sacramento. They're going to Seattle without a city designation. And they'll open next year without a city designation until they land in Sacramento. And then who knows what they'll be. But for now, celebrate and, well, raise a glass for generations of great memories And some years it came up short, some years that were glorious, and all of them a little quirky, a little hard to define, and a little green and gold. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I got one more show to do. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. From the Oakland Coliseum for the last ever game of the Oakland A's. This has been Locked On A's. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.